what's happening between Candace and Ben right now, or do you have opinions on it?
Yeah, there's nothing useful I can add to that.
Yeah. Is that hard to make that decision when you're so public?
No, not really.
The Daily Wire has gotten into a whole lot of beef recently, and it's hard if you're a member of the Daily Wire like Jordan Peterson and Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and all the rest of them, and formerly Candace Owens. It's hard to stay away from it. If you're going on all these podcasts, you're doing all these interviews like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and all of them do, of course you're going to get asked the question whenever you're involved in this much drama. They have the Daily Wire versus Tucker Carlson, who went on Joe Rogan and said things totally nothing to do with the Daily Wire, but set off the Daily Wire into multiple meltdowns over multiple things that Tucker Carlson said. We have Candace Owens being fired from the Daily Wire because she disagrees with Ben Shapiro on the Middle East. And of course, when Jordan Peterson goes on these different shows, he's going to be asked the question of what's going on with Candace Owens versus the Daily Wire. What's going on with Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire in general? Let's check out this clip of Jordan Peterson's response to the whole Daily Wire drama.
Make an intentional decision to stay out of what's happening between Candace and Ben right now, or do you have opinions on it?
Yeah, there's nothing useful I can add to that.
Yeah. Is that hard to make that decision when you're so public?
Not really. It'll sort itself out. There's nothing in it. There's nothing that I can add to it that would be the least bit useful.
Yeah.
That's good. There's no point in adding to the clamor at all. And
that takes
the Daily Wire deal, first of all, was very generous. It was a very generous financial offer. Very. And ridiculously so. And so that was good.
Good.
It's nice not to be alone.
Yeah.
And it's good to have.
I respect that. I honestly, I've been someone who's made fun of Jordan Peterson in the past. Like, all the guy does is tell you to make your bed and then he cries every time he gets on stage. Like, I've made the jokes a ton before. But honestly, I respect that, because what people are missing in this whole thing, and it's not their fault that they're missing it, it's the Daily Wire's fault for being so dishonest about it, is this whole thing, like, the Daily Wire exists to drive revenue. Ben Shapiro doesn't get on YouTube and talk because he likes to talk, or he cares about the things he's talking about. He does it because it makes him a lot of money. Jordan Peterson, same thing. He does this because it makes him a lot of money. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going work your plumbing job because you just have this deep passion for plumbing. No, it's because it makes you money. You're not going work your electrician job because you just have this deep passion for the way that the wires connect within the households. Like, no, dude, you just like the money. It's the same thing for Jordan Peterson and the Daily Wire and everybody else. I wish they would just admit that. They stay away from certain topics. They talk about they hold certain opinions, and they fire you like they fired Candace Owens if you hold certain opinions about certain countries, because they like money. It's a business. And I respect Jordan Peterson for coming out and saying, yeah, I'm not taking a side in this Daily Wire versus Candace Owens thing because I like money. They were very generous to give me a lot of money, and I don't want to put that in jeopardy. I respect that. I wish Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire and everybody else would just be more honest about that. Elijah Schaffer is one of the guys who's very honest about it. He's one of the very few, and I'm not, trust me, not like a huge like Elijah Schaffer fan. I don't know enough about him. I do know that there was like false allegations against him or whatever, but I saw some clips of him recently saying like, dude, what people don't understand is this is all just a business. People expect you to behave differently because you're in the business of talking about politics, but it's still a business at the end of the day. It's to drive revenue, and that's a lot of people forget, and it's not their fault. It's because the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and the rest of the people are just so dishonest, They're just so dishonest about it. I respect Jordan Peterson for coming out and saying, like, I could say something. I could add to this, but I don't think it would be good for business. It wouldn't be good for my pockets. So why would I do that? I respect that a lot.
Have some support staff. And they're very good. They're very professional.
And
Excellent editing teams.
They film a lot of your presentations.
Yep. Yeah.
So you've got that now forever. That's
absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, and they're a lot of fun. It's a very entrepreneurial organization. It's in its growth phase, and so it doesn't have that stultification when a corporation, an enterprise reaches its maturity and starts to decline, it gets all ossified, and there's rules for everything. You can't do this and you can't do that. You have to get permission. It's like, I hate that.
There's no rules except you don't criticize Ben Shapiro's favorite country. No rules. It's very entrepreneurial spirit. Just don't criticize Ben Shapiro's favorite country, and you'll be fine. You won't get fired. Candace Owens did. She broke the one rule. She committed the cardinal sin of the Daily Wire, and she got fired.
That. And so when I go to Jeremy, the CEO, for example, or the producers, and I say, well, I got this wild idea. They say, okay. Like the Exodus seminar. I mean, what a preposterous thing for them to bet on. It cost them like $1 million.
Wow.
They're going to bring 9 people together to talk for 34 hours about Moses. Who's going to bet on that? Well, originally it was only supposed to be 17 hours. And so we went and did the seminar. And it was clear that to take the time necessary, we weren't going to get through the whole thing. They doubled the time. They doubled the budget with like no trouble, no paperwork. They took the risk.
Yeah.
And they do that all the time. They take risks all the time.
Good.
And so, and I'm fond of the conservatives because the center has been loosed from our culture and someone needs to put the stake back in the ground.
Also, a massive thanks to...
And I just to be clear, I don't think Jordan Peterson is just doing this because he likes money. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. I think Jordan Peterson is actually one of the more sincere guys out there in that he does actually want to help people. But don't get it twisted. If this wasn't so lucrative for Jordan Peterson's pockets, and this isn't some like crazy wild expose, this should be common knowledge, but people act like it's not. I don't understand. It's the weirdest thing ever where like there's these parasocial relationships that are formed between the viewers and the fans of the Daily Wire and other conservative media. And that they think that they're like some actual like knight in shining armor, actual hero that's going to go out and fight all the battles for you and stuff. Dude, it's all a business. Like I said, this isn't some crazy expose, but if Jordan Peterson wasn't getting paid a lot of money to talk, then he wouldn't be talking in public. He would try to go be a professor somewhere. I know he got fired from his job, but he would still go try to be a professor or do something else that paid him more. Like, that's just the bottom line. But I do think that Jordan Peterson does genuinely care, and I think that he would still probably make content on the side or something, trying to help people learn from his past mistakes and stuff like that. But this is all a business at the end of the day, is all I'm trying to say. And I wish people would understand that more. But there was also this very interesting Joe Rogan and Matt Walsh clip when they talked about Jordan Peterson and talked about some things that he said that have just been spot on. And I wanted to play this clip because I thought it was very, very interesting from the Joe Rogan experience. Let's check this out.
Since first started talking about compelled speech and compelled use of pronouns, I remember people thinking, like, why do you care about this? This is like such a small issue with a marginalized group of people. Like, let them have their identity and use the pronouns they want. And this is like, what was it, 2015, 2016? And I remember his warning, and I remember many other people like, this is going to spill over. Like this, if you can enforce this on a professor, and if you can enforce...
If you enjoy content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Compelled speech, because Canada doesn't have the same free speech laws we do in America.
Yeah.
And if you can, like, where does it go? How are you compelling it? Well, it means through violence or through police or through the fear of being arrested, the fear of having your job taken away from you. Like, this is literally what happens when you use laws to compel people. Like, you have to have some sort of a punishment if they don't follow through, if they don't follow your orders. And this is what he was worrying about. And I remember at the time being like, I hope he's wrong. Like, I hope it doesn't get that big. But now here we are, 7 years later,
Yeah.
and he was right.
Because there's also a difference between telling people they can't say something, which is what free speech suppression usually is, and that's bad enough. But then telling people that they have to say something,
Yes.
compelling them to actually say something, putting words in their mouth and telling them that you have to say this, and it's...
And then everybody always makes fun of people like Jordan Peterson or anyone who makes the slippery slope argument, because it is, like, historically, in a lot of situations, it is a weak argument. But in these particular circumstances, it's not. Like, it's very obvious that that's what's going to happen, because history repeats itself. It's been happening for the longest time. A lot of things that are completely normalized today that are objectively bad for society. A very safe one for me to give as an example is the obesity epidemic. There's a ton of people who I've been arguing with recently on Twitter saying that we should tax fat people more. That's what I said. And they're all like, oh, but it's not my fault. I'm taking these medications. I have these disorders that make me fat. I eat one meal a day. It's just a chicken breast, a 6-ounce chicken breast. And I work out twice a day. I run, all these miles, and I'm still fat. It's like, there's no chance that all of these people who are fat are eating one small chicken breast and working out twice a day, and you're still fat. There's no way. There's just no way. But it's now become so acceptable And, you know, it's the what do you call it? The Overton window has shifted so much that being obese, being fat is just normalized now. You know, that's just, oh, it's not your fault. It's the bad food that you're eating. You know, you don't know what's in it. Read the label, dumbass. Stop putting so much food in your mouth. Like, that's what people need to be told. But now if you tell people that, that's like taboo to tell people that it's completely within your control if you're fat or not. And people have meltdowns on Twitter if I say that we should tax fat people more. Dude, if you don't want to get taxed more, don't be fat. I'm helping you. I'm trying to help you. You know, I'm trying to help people to not be as fat. But if you look at videos from 20 years ago, you look at videos of a beach and there's like all skinny people. You might see like 1 or 2 fat people on the beach. Nowadays, if you go on a beach, you're going to see mostly fat people. And that's just one small example of like the slippery slope stuff. Not only has the food gotten worse, but fat acceptance is a huge thing. If you ever tell people that they shouldn't be fat, you get, you know, punished for it. You get scolded and saying that you're not, what do you call it, tolerant enough. I'm trying to help, you know? And that's just one example. There's so many examples. There's like feminism. There's the stuff that's happening in the pharmaceutical industry. There's stuff that's happening with speech and banning books and stuff like that. There's so many examples of this slippery slope stuff to where it's not really a bad argument anymore. It's just the truth. It's history repeating itself at this point.
It's not, you know, pronouns. It's not a small thing, because when you use the she for a he, you're not only being forced to say something, but you're being forced to affirm and acquiesce to a claim that you don't agree with. You're being forced to express a belief that's not yours. I mean, it's like it's not much different from, you know, a dictatorship forcing someone to profess belief in a religion. You know, it's forced conversion, basically, is what it is. And once you allow that, it doesn't matter. Of course, it's going to start somewhere small. It's just pronouns. It always starts that way. But like I said, it's actually not small. Pronouns there's a reason why the left makes a big deal out of it. So anytime people on the right say, well, it's not a big deal, in response to the left making a big deal about something, well, they wouldn't be making a big deal about it if it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's spot on. And Jordan Peterson was one of the first ones to call it. People made fun of him. People were saying, oh, it's slippery slope, you know, argument. It's all like, that's always just a, you know, it's a cop-out way to argue things, but it's not. It's a pattern. It's a clear pattern at this point. You know, they're trying to shift the Overton window, and they've been very, very successful. It's time we take a stand, or things are going to get a whole lot worse if we don't. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you're thinking about Jordan Peterson's response to all of the Candace Owens versus the Daily Wire versus Tucker, all the drama that the Daily Wire has been going through recently. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about what Jordan Peterson had to say. I got to say, I respect his response a lot more than I respect the other people's response that have responded so far from the Daily Wire. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments.